Good evening. Welcome to The Next Word. I'm your host, Chris Warnke. Tonight we have a special treat. We have the ambassador from Slovenia, Ambassador Božo Cerar, who is going to talk about his jewel of a country with wonderful wine, majestic horses, a water-rich state, and the birthplace of Melania Trump. All in one package.
Thank you.
And what a country. I mean, the more I learn about it, Ambassador, the more I'm just fascinated, and I have to go. I mean, I have to come. But you, of course, are beyond just being an ambassador. You're an author many times over.
I have a few hobbies, yes.
You have a few hobbies. You're charismatic. You know, you made an imprint here on Washington, D.C., and we're grateful for your presence.
I'm representing Republic of Slovenia,
right,
which is a relatively young country.
Yes, yeah.
25 years and something. But we Slovenians, we are an old European people. My country is the size of, I would say, New Jersey,
right,
but very diverse. We have a bit of everything, I would say. Alps, high mountains, rolling hills covered by vineyards. We have a bit of Pannonian Hungarian flatland, and western part of Slovenia is a so-called karst region, limestone caves, disappearing rivers, lakes. And in that part of Slovenia, we have a bit of Adriatic coast as well, some 40 kilometers.
Of the coast?
Yes.
And you have aquifers that are quite remarkable, don't you? The water.
Well, I dare to say that we are very rich with water.
Yes, I mean, I'm fascinated.
A lot of rivers, lakes, but what is important in today's life, I would say, that those streams are rather well preserved. You know, there are still some crystal clear waters in Slovenia. When you can fly fishing,
right,
you can do fly fishing, you can go canoeing, kayaking in this white water.
Whitewater rafting, right.
Rafting, exactly. Yes, definitely a very interesting country.
Very interesting. So you've held many positions within your government in terms of foreign ministry and with NATO and
yes, it's true. In a matter of few months, it will be 43 years of service to my country. Apart from the United States, I've been ambassador to Canada, Poland, and for 5 years, Slovenian permanent representative to NATO.
Wow.
But I started my diplomatic career, as I said, 43 years ago.
Well, so they send the best of the best to Washington.
I don't know.
No, they do. They do. I mean, they have to do. But no, the more I learn about Slovenia, and as I said, I just started to learn about it through my introduction to you. I'm fascinated. It's a country of 3 million people.
2 million.
2 million people. Okay,
yes.
Okay. Very well educated. Correct.
What?
Everybody has a cell phone, correct? Like I saw the statistics, it was like 95% people are users of
it's true.
An internet and cell phone,
yeah.
So it's a very aware population.
Yeah, we are in the center of the European continent.
Yes, you're the heart of the,
Exactly, part of European Union and NATO. We say on the sunny side of Alps.
Yeah. On the sunny side of Alps.
Yes, to the annoyance of
Austrians.
Austrians are on the northern part.
Right.
We are on the southern part, sunny side part. And by the way, we are the only country in the world to have a word love in country's name.
Right,
Slovenia.
Right. Love it. And that's a good branding. That's a great branding.
Yes.
So you border. I mean, you're right. You were literally in the heart of Europe.
We are halfway between Venice, Italy, and Vienna, Austria.
Okay. Gained your independence. I mean, in
1991. Yes.
And then the U.S. recognized you officially in April.
On April 7th, 1992. So a few days ago, we marked this occasion. I would say in a special way. I planted a tree, a linden tree, which is linden tree is sort of a national symbol.
Right.
It's a very important tree in my country. We plant that tree on special occasions, be it for the family or for the country. So on the 25th anniversary of U.S. recognition of my country as an independent state, I planted, with a little help of 2 U.S. ambassadors, former ambassadors to Slovenia, linden tree in the National Arboretum in Washington,
Oh, that's
D.C.
fantastic. Wow.
Just to
That's
mark
great.
this occasion in that particular way. When I said that linden tree, the name in Slovenia is lipa, small one,
right.
lipica,
Lipica, which means small. And,
small, not huge, is lipa.
right.
Smaller one, lipica.
Okay.
And now I'm going to tell you something that I'm sure that majority of your viewers is not aware of. You have probably heard about those majestic horses, white horses, Lipizzaner's. So,
Well,
what is the history? Why they are called Lipizzaner's? They came originally from western part of Slovenia, from the place, from the village, which is called Lipica.
yeah. Right.
Why Lipica? Because there were around there a lot of linden trees. So the place
so the
where this farmstead is still there,
Right.
horses are still roaming around.
Right.
The place is called Lipica. And that's why the horses were named after the place, after the village, after the tree.
After the tree.
Lipizzaner's.
I love it. And it's like 430-year-old.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, it's quite a long tradition. Of course, at that time there was no trace of Slovenia; it was part of Austrian Empire.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
but now,
Right.
now it's part of Slovenia. You know that
What a-
part.
what a
That part
history.
of my country has, I mean, the rest as well, but that one in particular has a very rich history. I will tell you a story about my wife's grandmother. She passed away a few years ago, 103 years old.
Wow. It's the water.
Well, I know, I
Among
don't know,
other
but
things.
definitely people from
Amazing.
that part.
Right. They
Yes,
live well and they live
exactly.
long. And
But why is so interesting her story? She never moved
Amazing.
from her village,
right.
but nevertheless, she lived in 4-5 countries. How come? She was born
Yugoslavia.
in Austrian Empire,
Right.
Austro-Hungarian, by the way,
Right.
as an Austrian
Right.
citizen.
Right.
Then came Italy. After, during Second World War, for a few years, Germany.
Really?
After the end of Second World War, it was Yugoslavia. And finally, as I said, 25 years and a half
Amazing.
ago,
What a history. What a
Slovenia.
story.
Slovenes have been living there all the time. But as I said, part of various empires, various countries,
what a
and finally,
history.
our dream came true 25 years ago.
So did you interview her for your book? You should do a book.
Well, you're right. I haven't wrote anything
Now you
about
can't.
yet.
Yeah, but you can. The
But,
stories.
well,
Do you remember the
definitely,
stories?
believe me, it's something very, how to say, impressive in a way.
Very impressive. My
interesting.
God.
No, not to move out of her village,
Village.
but nevertheless
Yes.
being able to live in
Five different
countries.
remarkable. Isn't that something?
It's quite something.
Months of So you've been here for 4 years.
Yes.
We've been lucky to have you
Yeah.
4 years. You've traveled
A lot.
a lot.
I believe I've seen more
You've probably seen
of
more
your
than I've
country
seen.
than an average American. Definitely.
I'm sure.
Definitely.
I'm sure. What impressed you the most? I mean, tell me anywhere that you went that was something that left
Well,
an
of course,
impact.
there are some parts of the United States that reminded me on my country.
Yes.
Colorado.
Colorado,
for example. Yes,
right,
because
right.
there are mountains,
Right, streams.
exactly,
rivers
clear water, etc. But I noticed that majority of the United States is rather flat.
Right, right.
But if you ask me about my favorite, well, I would disappoint. East Coast, it's definitely California. It's definitely
Oh, is it
San
California?
Francisco.
Is that your favorite? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
San Francisco, California, because the older I am, I prefer somehow warm places like
Well, that's true,
California
yeah.
or Florida. But believe me, when I said Slovenia is small and diverse, I
Right.
can tell you, United States a big
And diverse.
continent,
And
but very diverse as well.
Very diverse,
So
which is
I enjoy it.
which is our strength.
I enjoy it very much.
Yeah, which is the strength, of course. And I know you went to Tronic, Michigan, recently, because actually, U.S. News and World Report reported that you went to Tronic and you were, blown away by the Slovenian Americans, right?
Yeah. Oh, interesting that you learned about this trip of
Yes.
mine.
Which is recent, wasn't
Yeah, it was a few weeks ago.
it? Yeah.
I went up there for two particular reasons. And Tronic, which is the name of the settlement, was one of them. The first one was, in fact, the fact that in that part of Michigan, I believe it's called Upper Peninsula, something like that. Some 150 years ago, Bishop Baraga, a Slovenian clergyman, came to the United States, and he was spreading Christianity among the native people. So he became the first bishop of Marquette. So I went there to pay respect to a person coming from my country, to do a lot of good things, I would say, in that part of the United States. And of course, I met the Baraga Association, I met the current bishop. I went to see those places that he was called, by the way, the snowshoe man, because he's been very active in the winter time as well. Wow. And of course, there were no roads, nothing.
No
so
roads,
he just went around with the snowshoes. Yeah. And the Traunik, this was a settlement established by primarily people coming from nowadays Slovenia. At that time, it was part of Austria, as I mentioned. And they named that place after a village back in Slovenia. Traunik means in English meadow. So I went there because... Meadow, yeah. I went there because there are not that many American, I would say, towns, settlements, villages, etc., named after Slovenian places, etc. So I went there. I found out that, in fact, the majority of those, let's say, people or their successors, third, fourth generation, they, how to say, went to all other places of the United States. But a few descendants of those people were still there. And in fact, they were not knowing that I was that I would be coming here. So to their surprise, I was there. And of course, it was nice, very nice. Yes. They were very hospitable. They talk a lot about their history, about the place, and believe me, I'm going back home with a lot of good memories, pleasant memories, and this is one.
Is this one of them? Yeah,
definitely.
Wonderful.
Definitely.
And immigrant population, I mean, it's sort of recent since the...
well, you know, the first settlers from Slovenia came in the 18th century.
Okay. Wow.
Majority,
in
yes.
18th century.
18th century. The great majority came at the turn of the century, 1920s, through Ellis
right
Island.
before the doors closed in 1924.
Yeah. Exactly. Of course, there were a few waves later on, after the Second World War, and that was the last one.
And that was the last wave, right.
So I would say people who came to your country, the United States, as Slovenians or Austrian citizens at the time, now they are 100% Americans, of course. They don't speak Slovenian anymore. But majority of them are aware of their roots. They are proud because of that, and of course, I'm proud as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, that's wonderful. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll come back because I want to hear about your book.
Thank you.
Your plans for the future, and a little bit more about Slovenia. Okay. You're watching The Next Word. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation. You're resigning.
Why?
You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit.
Oh, I forgot. I'll do better.
Please don't quit on me.
Don't let your heart quit on you. Get your uncontrolled high blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Chris Warnke, and tonight we're having a conversation with Ambassador Božo Cerar, the ambassador from Slovenia, the land of the love.
Yeah.
The land of the beautiful wine, great water, I mean everything.
Yeah, you mentioned wine. Yes.
Yeah, we've talked about the wine. I want to hear about the wine.
We are a wine-producing country. We have some good wines. You know, in fact, tradition to grow, to make wine is an old tradition in Slovenia. You know, dating well back to times even before we settled that part of Europe. You know. Were Romans.
Right. So
and before Romans, Celtic and Illyrian tribes. Slovenians were the third there. And as I said, a long tradition. We have 3 wine-growing regions due to the different composition of the soil.
Soil must be very
and the climate, you know. Right. We have a few microclimates, and that's why 3 wine-growing regions. And talking about wine, I can tell you that we are boasting to
Yes.
have the oldest wine plant in the world.
Oh, wow.
It's almost
Unbelievable.
500 years old. It grows in the second biggest city in Slovenia, Maribor. And, well,
Unbelievable.
voila.
So we can't take this home.
No, but I'm going to show you.
Unbelievable.
This is bottle from that plant, just a few bottles per year, by the way.
Right.
But
Just a
this
few
is the
bottles.
wine from almost 500 years old wine.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, in western part of
Wow.
Slovenia. In fact, 1% of our land is covered by vineyards.
1%.
1%.
Wow. But covered by the.
Yeah. And of course, wine is our national drink. There are a lot of songs about wine.
About wine?
About wine, believe me, yeah. But apart from wine, we have, as I mentioned before, crystal clear waters as well. You know, we are very rich with water. And the water is a sort of a substance of the future. So we are lucky one, having wine and water.
Well, and you have, so going back to you have well-educated, I mean, that's what I thought, the people are.
Look, we are a country of 2 millions,
Right.
surrounded by very, how to say, strong, powerful neighbors.
Right.
There is no other way to succeed
Right.
than to learn, to educate our people to learn foreign languages. But
4 languages.
Foreign languages.
Foreign languages, yes.
Well, as far
Well,
as
like-
there are some of them who, of us who speak more than 4. But in elementary school, there is 1 obligatory, almost in the very
That's fantastic.
first classes,
Yeah.
first grades,
Right.
etc. But then
That's great.
in the second school, we say second school, but it's high
Higher.
high school, 2 languages.
That's fantastic.
And official language, of course, is Slovenian. It's a Slavic language. But near the Italian border, where the Italian minority lives, Italian is a second language. And near the Hungarian border, Hungarian is spoken as well. Not just spoken,
Right.
it's taught.
It's taught.
It's taught at school,
Wonderful.
and it's used in public, let's say, institutions. But as far as foreign language number 1 is concerned, it's nowadays it's English.
But
it
now-
used to be German before the Second War.
Right.
But now it's English, and I can tell it's quite widely spoken.
Right.
You won't get lost in Slovenia with English now. No.
But I'm so impressed with Melania Trump. She speaks several languages.
Yes,
I'm so
I
impressed
believe
with it. I mean, really.
you're right. As I said, apart from Slovenian and some other Southern Slavic languages, Croatian or Serbian, Slovenians speak English. And then, for instance, my wife, she comes from that region speaking Italian. So she speaks
Italian?
Yeah, she speaks Italian, French, German, English, Slovenian. I speak Russian as well.
You do?
And a bit of Greek.
And a bit of Greek. I want to test you on the Greek. A bit of Greek.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about that. How did you learn Greek?
Έχω μάθει Italian κάμω στην Αθήνα. I have learned my Greek in Athens.
No, you learned your Greek in Athens.
Yeah,
Very good. Very good.
I was a diplomat there, of course.
You were a diplomat in Athens.
In Athens.
Enjoyed it. You enjoyed it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean,
yeah,
it's everything, the food.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a lawyer by education.
Okay.
I'm diplomat by profession, I would say. But diplomacy, international relations is not just my job, it's my hobby as well.
Right.
An important hobby. I have quite a few of them.
You have quite a. Now, so speaking of food, which is one of my favorite subjects, on May 10th, every year, is there a food? It's a recognition of the Slovenian food because
I believe the correct story is like this. For the last 2 years, in May, there is so-called International Food Day in the elementary school in schools in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
This year, Wednesday, the 10th of May, there is, according to the proclamation of Mayor Bowser, Slovenian Food Day, meaning more than 50,000
school
children will enjoy on that day their meals influenced by Slovenian cuisine.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard about this program.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
excellent.
And in the school, and in particular the 5th grade that my embassy adopted for 1
Right,
year,
right.
there will be children, a group of them,
Coming to the
coming to cook in this particular school.
Really?
It is, if I'm not mistaken, Harriet.
Tubman.
Yes, bravo. Yes, yes. They will be presenting to their colleagues my country, Slovenia, but at the same time they will present our cuisine,
Cuisine.
as well. They will prepare a meal for them at
That's a
the
great
particular
idea.
school.
Oh my God, this is
I agree. You know, public diplomacy is part of my job.
Absolutely,
Spreading, let's say, the
absolutely.
information about my country is sort of
Right.
my job as well. And as you see, it's not that difficult because Slovenia is a country,
it's great. Yeah.
as I said, very diverse. Definitely worth to see, to visit. And as I said, I'm enjoying this job of mine, but at the same time, it's a pleasure.
It's part of your own
Yeah,
being.
yeah.
And you taking back those impressions are important from the United States, and some of the
Yeah.
places you visited and some of the people you
I
met.
must say that I'll be leaving, as I mentioned, United States at the end of this month,
Which is
May,
our loss.
with very, I would say, pleasant memories.
Wonderful.
I took my prime minister to Silicon Valley.
To San Jose and the whole.
Yeah.
Really, I've never been.
From San Francisco down south.
Down south, right?
Exactly. And what else? 2 important bilateral agreements were negotiated and signed under my watch.
Right.
Well, because one of my previous jobs was representing my country to NATO, so I made sure
Right.
that the cooperation between Slovenian Army and Colorado National Guard,
Oh, that's fantastic. That's
which
great.
are
That's
sort of
great.
cooperation between
Right.
in the framework of so-called state program. So that cooperation grew much deeper. We talked a lot about public diplomacy, but on a very, how to say, personal note,
Level.
I dare to say that I achieved almost everything. I know it's a bit boastful, but nevertheless,
No, it's a wonderful.
I've seen Grand Canyon, Golden Gate. I went to see a resting place of Buffalo Bill.
Oh, which
By the way,
that's
Buffalo Bill visits
Wow.
Slovenia, Ljubljana in 1906.
Wow.
I've seen, I saw a real buffalo in Colorado,
Yeah.
a real alligator
In Florida?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right, in Florida. I planted that
Your tree.
tree that I
You've left
mentioned
your-
earlier, and I wrote my last
Last book.
Book.
So your last book. So your children's book.
Yes, it is. I mean, I do write about some serious stuff, international relations, diplomacy, but some fiction for adults and children
That's
as
great.
well.
That's wonderful.
So this
Yeah.
particular one is a fairy tale about a curious fish living in a crystal clear mountain creek in western part of Slovenia.
Wonderful.
Curious, I said, because he learned about some huge, vast water, sea,
Wow.
decided to
That's
go to find it out himself what it's all about. And the book dedicated to my grandchildren is about the adventures that
what a
he
great
met
story.
on that voyage to the sea and back, because finally home sweet
What a
home
wonderful
prevailed.
tribute.
And
great.
what I'm proud, because it was quite something, believe me, for non-native speaker.
Yes, yes.
I read that fairy tale in the Library of Congress
Really.
to a very demanding public.
I was going to say to a very demanding.
Yeah,
Very.
50 children from kindergarten.
So
So
that would
believe
be
me, that's
demanding,
why
right.
it was
That's
so
demanding,
demanding.
right,
Not to
right.
write, but
Right.
to read to them
And
in
right.
understandable, I would say, English.
right, right.
But yes, they like it.
I bet they love it.
They like it, and
Yeah.
as I said, this is one of my hobbies as well. And when I leave your country in a matter of few months, I'm going to retire. So it will be much more time for other hobbies of mine, which is mountaineering,
Right.
trekking,
Mountaineering, right.
gardening.
Fantastic.
I like
That
gardening.
sounds good to me.
Yeah, and well, there are some other. I will be kept busy in my
You'll be very
retirement.
busy. I'm sure you'll be.
As well.
And you're going to go back to the cat. You're going to go back to.
I go back to Slovenia, to our
Yeah.
capital, Ljubljana.
Right.
But I may well come back for the first few months next year to Washington.
You have to come back.
Not to Washington, pardon me, to New York City. My
For-
wife, she's a diplomat there.
Ah. Oh, she's a diplomat. Then.
Yes, and she will finish her term
When next year?
next year,
Ah.
so that our daughter can finish our high school.
Right. Right.
So, being
In New York.
retired, but nevertheless coming back to your country.
So how does it work? She's in New York and you're here now.
Yeah, you're right. Well,
an
I would
interesting,
say that the situation is an ideal one, but we are at least following two careers.
And
We
you're
are
in the
living
same
in the same
continent.
country,
You're in
the same
continent.
continent.
The same
But
continent.
believe me, I've done a lot of commuting
To New York.
to New York.
Yeah.
I know by heart all the gas stations,
Do you?
stations and
Everything,
other real
yeah.
estate or national
I love it though. Yeah.
Highway 95 from
Right,
Washington
north,
D.C.
right.
to New York City and vice versa.
Right. Right. I love it. And your daughter's going to finish high school
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
So that's so good. Yeah.
yeah. yeah.
That's great. So the last thing I'll just ask, because we were, of course, in Baltimore together at Fort McHenry, and it was quite moving for me because I had not been to Fort McHenry. What was your impression?
Well, first of all, I must say that one of my hobbies is geography, history, and of course I wanted to learn as much as possible of U.S. history. And Fort McHenry is an important place.
Oh my God!
It's
Yes.
a birthplace
It
for the
is.
national anthem.
Absolutely, it's
So, Executive Council for Diplomacy, which is an organization
right.
trying to, how to say, present your country to us diplomats.
Right.
It's
In-
very, how to say,
in a substantive,
yeah,
historical.
I must say that
yes.
I admire their work.
Yeah, they did
I
fantastic.
was participating as much as possible in their programs. And, you know, to be able, just a few weeks before my departure,
to go
to the
it moved me.
to
Yes.
Baltimore, to Fort McHenry, to learn about this gentleman,
Mr.
Francis Scott Key.
Key.
I was not aware that
The Key Bridge.
in Georgetown was
Right.
named after him.
Yes,
but now
yes,
I realize
and there's
it's
the Francis
another,
Scott Key Park, and there's yes,
exactly, and I
Yes.
realize there's another bridge
Yes.
in
Yes.
Baltimore
Yes.
named after him.
yes. Now he was
No, as I said,
courageous.
I'm living United States with very good impressions. Of course, others will judge my work,
Yeah.
but believe me, relationship between our two countries has grown very
enormously. Yeah.
enormously. It's very good. It's very comprehensive. And of course, if I added a few pieces into this mosaic of this
Right,
relationship
right.
myself, to the better.
What? No. And by the way, one thing as I end on this note, I didn't realize how many museums are in Slovenia. It's a history that
Yeah.
has a great
look,
quench for education and history.
as I
and,
said,
yeah.
our history is very rich.
Yes, I mean
We
the
are
museums.
proud of our history. As I said, we managed to survive as a small nation surrounded by more powerful nations, primarily due to the culture,
Yes, yeah.
to the poets,
And to the
writers. So in our cities or villages, apart from Linden Tree Lipa,
what?
you will find a statue dedicated to an artist.
Art,
In Ljubljana, Prešeren Square is named after our greatest poet, France
Wow.
Prešeren. Yeah.
So
And talking
that's-
about museums, I'm glad that you mentioned, in the western part of Slovenia, along that,
What?
that river and that
The river you talk about, yeah?
creek that I talked about, there is Kobarit Museum. It was not so long ago voted the best museum in Europe. Museum is more or less dedicated to the First World War, because in the western
Really?
part of Slovenia, along the so-called along the river Soča, Sonco
Right,
in
right.
Italian, the fiercest battles in the First World War took place. And your Hemingway, by the way,
Yes.
wrote about those
Wrote
times,
about-
those
yes.
places in Farewell to Arms.
But oh my God, farewell to arms. Oh my God, on that note. Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you. I wish we could talk more.
Pleasure.
Yes.
Thank
Next
you very
time you
much
come
for
back.
inviting me.
Yes. I wish you all the luck and come back.
Yes.
You have to
As
come
I
back.
said, I will coming back to the United States
Please.
because, as I said, it's a
Your
huge
second home.
country, very diverse.
And your
I've
second
seen a
home.
lot,
and your
but not
second home.
everything.
Not everything. Thank you. You've been watching The Next Word. Hope you enjoyed the evening. Have a great night. Thank you.